if you want the solution of the shot, then you can directly take this video to 6 minutes and 8 seconds. But I would suggest to see the entire game. And if you haven't seen the shot, the link will be provided in the description box. Hi guys, I am Anish Deshpande, and in this video we will be going to see a game of Mikhail Tal. Mikhail Tal was a Latvian chess player and the 8th world chess champion. He won his world championship title defeating Mikhail Botvinnik. So let's see one of his games. He was considered the most attacking players of his times. He was also called the master of attack and the magician of Riga. So let's start with this game. Mikhail Tal was playing with the white pieces and he opened the game with one e4. His opponent replied with e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. This is the Roy Lopez opening. In this opening, white's idea is to pressurize the e5 pawn by attacking this knight. So his opponent played a6. Now in this position, white cannot take this knight and win the pawn. Let's see. Bishop captures c6, pawn captures c6, if knight captures on e5, then queen to d4, attacks the knight and the pawn. So eventually black regains his pawn, and after some exchanges, black is left with a bishop pair. So in the game, Mikhail Tal played the bishop to a4. So black replied with knight to f6. Tal castle kingside. Black played bishop to e7. Mikhail Tal played rook to e1. b5, bishop b3. Black castle kingside. Now Mikhail Tal played c3. His opponent played d6. h3. h3 move is played to stop bishop g4. If we play the move e4 instead of h3, black would play bishop to g4, pinning our knight and indirectly pressurize the d4 pawn. So Mikhail Tal played the move h3. His opponent played knight to a5, intending to capture this bishop. Now understand, this bishop is important in the Roy Lopez opening. So Mikhail Tal played his bishop to c2 and his opponent played c5, d4, queen c7, knight bd2, bishop d7, knight f1. This is the usual maneuver in the Roy Lopez. White takes his knight from d2 to f1 to g3 or e3 and attack on the king side. His opponent played c captures on d4. Tal replied c captures on d4 and rook to c8. He has attacked the bishop. So Tal played knight to e3, supporting this bishop. His opponent played knight to c6. Mikhail Tal pushed the knight away with d5. He went knight to b4, again attacking the bishop. So Tal played bishop to b1. His opponent played a5 and Tal played a3. His opponent went knight to a6 and he played the move b5. Now you cannot capture this pawn. If you capture, then take, and knight takes b5. Black is lost because bishop d2 and the knight is trapped. So his opponent played g6. Mikhail Tal played bishop to d2. He captured. He captures on b5. He captures on b5 and queen to b7, supporting the knight. Mikhail Tal played bishop to d3. Knight to c7. Knight to c2. Knight to h5, intending knight f4. Maybe in the future. Also intending to push the pawn to f5. Mikhail Tal played bishop to e3, looking at the weak dark squares in black's queen side. So his opponent challenged the rook on the a file with rook to a8. Tal played the move queen to d2. His opponent captured on a1. He captured with the knight. His opponent played the move f5. Tal played bishop to h6, attacking the rook. His opponent played knight to g7. Tal played knight to b3, intending knight to a5 and physically blocking the a5. So black doesn't have any play on the a5. His opponent pushed the pawn to f4, gaining space on the king side. Mikhail Tal played knight to a5, attacking the queen. His opponent played queen to b6. Tal played rook to c1, looking at the c6 weakness. His opponent played rook to a8. Mikhail Tal played queen to c2. His opponent played knight to e8. Mikhail Tal played queen to b3. His opponent played his bishop to f6. Finally, Mikhail Tal put his knight on c6. His opponent played knight to h5. Mikhail Tal played queen to b2, looking for some sacrifices on the e5 square if the bishop moves. And we will see later in the game a combination based on knight captures on e5. His opponent played bishop to g7. Mikhail Tal took on g7 and king takes on g7. This is a slight mistake by black. And now we will see how Mikhail Tal punished him. He played rook to c5. And now if black takes, then knight captures on e5 and he is lost. Let's see how. Now the white knight is going to capture his bishop. So if black saves his bishop, then knight gives a knight to c4, checking the king, and next move the queen is lost. So you cannot save this bishop, and if you play a move like king to g8, then Tal would capture on d7 and he has a winning advantage. So in the game, his opponent played queen to a6. Mikhail Tal captured the pawn on b5 with the rook. Rook takes on b5, and now his opponent played knight to c7. Now his point is that if the rook moves, the queen would capture the bishop, but that's what Tal's plan is. He wants to give up the bishop to checkmate black. He played rook to b8. His opponent captured the bishop on d3. Now Mikhail Tal played knight captures on e5. If d captures on e5, then queen captures on e5, and here black is lost. So after knight captures on e5, his opponent played queen to d1 check. Mikhail Tal played king to h2 and his opponent played rook to a1. He wants to checkmate Mikhail Tal in one move, and there is no defense to this checkmate, but white mates first. So Mikhail Tal played knight to g4, covering the h6 square and checking with the queen. This move was important. If the knight would have captured the bishop, the king would have ran to h6, and we are lost here as we are getting mated. So knight to g4 check, king f7, knight to h6 check, king e7, and after knight to g8 check, his opponent accepted his defeat, as king to f7 would have led to knight g5 check. So this is how Tal won this game.